to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rock about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional. That's okay.
It means something. It means something. You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic Reversal!
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing, is a science place, is a scientific fact that we're all up in your face. It is time, once again, for the one, the only, Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Episode 464. And very shortly, I'll be talking Blag, Dahlia. Really looking forward to that. Before we do that, though, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I'm your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer that's been touring and recording for 26 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life. I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 464. Now, if it's your first time listening to the show, archives of it are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. ProtonicReversal.com. However, you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/ProtonicReversal will achieve that goal. And if you like the show or even just a single episode, please feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice. Share it around on the internet, even leave a review. All that helps people discover the show. It beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords. And it's just a darn nice thing to do. So here we go. By the way, Secret Friends on tour end of August. San Francisco, Sacramento, Eureka, Portland, Seattle with the Null. Also playing LA September 5th for Caterwall West, caterwallwest.com. Detroit, Milwaukee, and Minneapolis the 11th, 12th, and 13th of December. So if you're around for any of those shows, come out, say hi. But more importantly, I'm about to talk to the man himself. I'm about to talk to Blag Dahlia of the Dwarves, a.k.a. Ralph Champagne, and many other wonderful things. Let's bring him on right now without any further ado. Blag, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, how you feeling?
Good, man. How you feeling? That's a better question.
I am doing marvelously.
That's lovely. I'm glad to hear it. This kind of been a long time going. I talked to mutual friend Travis Keller of Buddyhead fame.
Buddyhead, yeah.
Yeah, years back. He's been on like a bunch over the years. And I talked about his, hey, you want to have Blag on sometime? I'm like, yeah. And then we didn't do anything about it for like 10 years or something.
That sounds about right. That sounds like the Travis thing.
It's also me. This is a one-man operation, right? I do a lot of stuff. So sometimes I lose the threads. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever happened with that? So I'll pick that back up. So here we are. We're here now. And that's the important thing. This new Dwarves record is quite the ripper. So this is interesting. Tell me about this latest record.
I really like it. It's after sort of a bunch of kind of maximum production records and kind of big production value, we just kind of went back to the roots of the Dwarves and just kind of knocked one out. I mean, it still sounds good and everything, but it's more like just a straight up punk record, and then there's one kind of pop jam in there just so we could have a video,
Right, exactly, like the classic thing. No, and it's interesting that as being such a long-lived band, of course you have other influences, you have other things that you want to do as a band. It's like you don't want to make Blood, Guts, and Pussy like the fifth time over, It's like,
I know, although there's a lot of people who would like that, you know what I mean? Because it's a lot. You always have these fans that only like the one thing, and it's like, okay, I at least you like something that we did.
Right. It's better than them liking nothing, right?
That's
but
right.
but it is kind of interesting that, from an artistic perspective, basically, unless you're Johnny Ramone, you always kind of want to be kind of moving forward and like changing. And he was just like, yeah, I don't want to get better. Okay,
The Ramones are perfect in and of themselves, so they didn't need to improve. There was no room for improvement.
Right, precisely. That was like there was no there was no need for like they went psychedelic on this one, or wow, that was unexpected.
Well, they did actually try.
Actually, they did. That was that.
Yeah.
Acid Eaters, right?
Acid Eaters. Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
When the Dwarves started, we were like a '60s garage cover band. We came from that kind of Paisley revival thing.
Yeah.
But it was so lame. The bands involved with it were so lame, and they couldn't write songs, and they just dressed up in outfits and shit. And we were just always like, it's funny because even when we played like 60 stuff and had keyboards and paisley ties and all that shit, we were just still a punk band. We were just still always getting fights and graffiti shit and get high and fucking get mad, whatever it was. And so after a while, we kind of realized, hey, even though we like this shit, really we're a punk band,
Yeah, because it's put into the same sort of intensity that I wasn't. It wasn't until like later on when I worked at a record store or whatever that I discovered like Nuggets and all that. Which I've invoked Nuggets like I think twice in the last 3 episodes. But I had Lenny Kaye on to talk about. I mean, well, let's talk about the book.
Nuggets is what got me into rock and roll. I moved to a new school freshman year, and I just didn't know anybody and didn't know what was up, and I got picked up by this guy hitchhiking, and he had the Nuggets record, and he was like playing it for me. And I heard all this stuff over the course of like the first month or two where I lived there. And one of it was like the whole Nuggets Pebbles thing. And then the other was like rockabilly records, Gene Vincent, Eddie Cochran. And then, the other was, we went and saw Decline of Western Civilization.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Black Flag and all this kind of stuff. So for me, all that stuff is all part of one scene, it's just rock and roll,
Well, and the thing that I like so much about the compilation, that whole thing, is that it's such a wide panoply of things. Like you have something that's like, wow, that's the best song I've ever heard by a band I've never heard of. And then the next one, it comes along and you're like, oh, these guys. All right, well.
Right, yeah. And you get Farmer John by the Premiers.
Right. But it also gives you,
get on here. Yeah.
When you're starting out or you're just starting to like make art yourself, like it kind of opens up, oh yeah, like, it's sort of, things can be interesting without being like the exact, super, here's the perfect building carved out of ivory that like exists on the hill or whatever. It's like, oh no, you just do it and like do something cool. Because there's songs where it's like, that's not the best song ever, but that's pretty rad in its way,
Yeah,
and if that's not the punk rock ethos, I don't know what is. And I feel like you guys have been pretty good about finding that for yourselves.
Oh yeah, I mean, we don't really come from an era when anybody thought that punk could like make you money or have a career or do anything, and as the years went on, we saw people do that, but we were just never really fated to go in that direction, it's sort of two different strains at the same time. On the one hand, we're trying to make a great record and play great music and write great songs. On the other hand, we're just a trashy ass rock and roll band. And, in a lot of ways, we'll just never really be recognized for a lot of the more sophisticated stuff we did because we're a trashy ass rock band.
Right. I mean, it's like, it's taking the stuff like the Sonics and stuff did and like to the nth degree and putting your own spin on it.
And a lot of times 60s people don't really recognize that the Dwarves are one of those bands.
Yeah. Right.
Because again, they tend, everything with a lot of groups, it all kind of reminds me of like, Harajuku or something where, like that place in Japan. Where
I've been. Yeah.
It's like now we're dressed up as rockabilly, now we're all reggae, like, it's like,
that's this bar.
Not,
exactly.
and there's all these bands that do that. And the 60s guys were always kind of like that, and it was like, it's actually a form of music. It's not just the kind of tie.
The look. Right. And I think a lot of times, and especially you mentioned the Paisley Underground, I think that's a good example of someone that adopt the style or the affectation maybe, but then it's like, okay, yeah, but like this music is just like there's nothing here. Like there's nothing. You're not going for the throat with
which
this.
band?
Oh, just in general. Like I think it took me a long time to sort of. You mentioned the Paisley Underground kind of revival, and I could not get behind it when I was a kid.
They weren't any good, you know.
Yeah, well, live,
it was like, okay, you know, you're not, you know, and whereas like seeing those early hardcore bands was really like, whoa, like something's happening tonight, and even when those hardcore bands weren't that good, you know, it was like just the vibe in the room,
the energy, and the fact that it's the immediacy, right? Like it's something that it's like, no, this is very much an event that's happening. You know, this is I guess you get like situationist about it if you really wanted to get heady about it, but it's, you know, this is gonna it's going to be transgressive to the person attending the show in a way that, like, you know, seeing some people with their, you know, flared pants and goofy hats or playing reheated riffs maybe are right. Going to be. So tell me, I know that, so I kind of, the Sub Pop record in 90, that's the one that I found and kind of went backwards with and, you know, went forwards with as well. But you guys started what, in Illinois? You started in Chicago? Was that and then?
Yeah, well, in the suburbs of Chicago.
Okay.
I played my first show at the Cubby Bear Lounge in 1983. So I'll always feel like Chicago. And a lot of times when they talk about it, they say it's a Chicago band, but really it's San Francisco.
Because you guys were at San Francisco for way longer.
Yeah, I mean, here way.
I mean, it's like the Melvins. They still talk about being a Seattle band. It's like, dude, they've lived in LA since like the late 90s.
yeah, that's true. And they had a San Francisco stint.
And they were in San Francisco for like 10 years too. Yeah, absolutely. but people, you know, they hang on to whatever they hang on to, right?
Well, you know, you hang on to whatever market's the best. And for the Melvins, it was sort of being in Nirvana's orbit, you know, everything. So it was Seattle, you know.
But it's, you know, because I remember seeing tours like Trocadero, R.I.P., and venues like that.
Nobody else would play with Fang at that point. You know? I think the guy served his time. You know.
Yeah, he did his sentence.
But you know, like I make fun of his music, but I wouldn't judge him for his homicide. You know?
Right. Well, and it's like, okay, well, they did write one timeless song, at least, you know. It's more than a lot of bands do, so, you know, good for them. Money will roll right in. It's a great tune.
Yeah.
So did you feel like, because I had heard that, what was it, Todd put out on the Recess, but at that comp, was it Free Cocaine, something along those lines, right? Yeah, but
that's right, yeah. So that was kind of a collection of the stuff that was in between the 60s stuff and then Blood, Guts, and Pussy.
Right.
All that stuff kind of fits on that comp called Free Cocaine. Has a couple EPs and some other things in there.
Well, and I just remember, and this is, again, it's kind of hard to describe for the younger listeners, the younger viewers, is that sometimes you would just see a record cover and you'd be like, wow, what does that sound like? And now you see him, but it's like a postage stamp in someone's phone. You know, you can barely make out like what's happening.
Oh yeah, and the cover art is largely dead.
Yeah, which is a shame, and you know, that's a whole conversation in of itself. But I mean, I remember seeing the cover art for Blood, Guts, and Pussy and being like, "Oh my God, what is that?" You know, it catches the eye. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I mean. It was still one of the greatest album covers of all time, and we've had some cool ones too. I mean, they all kind of make their own sort of statement about things. And Blood Guts was very, you know, I think a whole generation of warped young kids masturbated to that record. So.
Yeah, I mean, so to be clear, you got for people, I'm going to describe this record cover, I guess. You got two beautiful naked women covered in blood and a little person. That's right. Around, right? And it's like one of those things that if you don't know you're like, what is that? Is that a movie? Like, what is this, like a Kenneth Anger joint? Like, what is this?
Yeah. I mean, you know, for me, it was kind of a takeoff on the Sam Hain album.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I brought that Sam Hain album to that photo session, and I was like, let's do this. You know.
Right.
Yeah. I had a vision, you know, but it it took Michael Levine to, actually turn it into a reality.
So how does that go? Like, when you get it all worked out, you're like, great, looks good, and then you're like, hey, y'all, here's the record to the record label. What are they like? Oh my god!
Well, to their credit, they were the ones that hooked me up with Michael Levine. I didn't know him prior to that, so that was one of the good things they did. One of the few and far between, good things that the label did. So they knew something was coming, and they knew we were calling the record "Blood, Guts, and Pussy." So that was,
yeah, you're already getting
you make a real statement with that.
You're gonna attract a little attention, as it turns out. Yeah. Well, and the thing I remember most about hearing the record for the first time is just like, well, first of all, it's over almost immediately. It's like, let's listen to it again, which is like a great thing that I wish would come back, by the way. I think people, for a long time, in the late 90s, people were just making their records. Wait, you can fit how much music on a CD? Okay, I will. And it's like,
there's a lot of filler on records and a lot of filler generally in music, I think.
Yeah.
And I would always rather have you get to the point and move on to your next thing, rather than labor that,
here it is again. Maybe you'll like it more this time,
Yeah, I mean, I think a record like Blood Guts is perfectly, it doesn't need to be any longer than what it is,
Yeah, it like clears it's like 13 minutes or so, right? Like all the songs are like about a minute change maybe, and it gets the point across very quickly. and was that like a calculated? You were moving away from the more psych stuff. Was that just trying to capture the immediacy of the punk bands that were kind of like, oh yeah, that's we can do like a version of that.
I mean, and just to try and get to the essence of things. I mean, there's a certain element of minimalization. Like we were talking about the Ramones, who to me are really the perfect group.
Yeah, one of my favorite bands of all time.
And it was just a question of distilling that into our version of it, which was like, the Ramones or the Misfits or whatever, with kind of, dirtier lyrics, and then just lopping off another verse and another chorus, but seeing, oh wait, can we still have a bridge in here? Can we still have an intro in here? Like, can we still make this like a song? And it actually is satisfying in that sense of having structure and different parts, but nothing is like repeated over and over and whatever, it was kind of that.
Right. Because you're approaching it like from the perspective of like someone who's a fan of making records too, right? And you're like, well, just it doesn't have to be brainless. It's there's very much a calculated intensity to all of it. And in that same way, like I said, first Ramones record, right? I used to just be like, first time I heard it, I was like, wow, I'm not even sure I like that, but let's listen to it again. And then you just flip it over, and then like next thing you know, it's my favorite band. And I think that was just something that was such a interesting time for that to come out, because that's like 1990, right? Like I heard it like a little later.
Yeah, I think it was released in 1990 when hardcore was pretty well dead at that point, and certainly hadn't made any kind of a comeback. Most people were kind of angling to do kind of glammy stuff, or
right,
stuff similar to like Guns N' Roses and that type of thing. So
it stood out, is what I'm saying. It definitely was like, oh man, this is intense.
It was a record that was for more intense people who could handle more intense themes and artwork and everything.
Yeah, and I remember, I love that record. I saw you guys once play, and it was, it was show a lot of, I think Red Ants played too. And what I recall most is that you guys came out, and here's my recollection. It's been years, so maybe I'm remembering this wrong. If so, you can correct me if you remember. But you started playing, and like He Who Cannot Be Named like wasn't on stage. You guys just started like kind of going, and then he kind of like wanders over, sort of plugs in, starts playing, and then like you guys get like 4 or 5 more songs and then leave. And I was like, blown away. I'd never seen anything like that before. Because it was a punk rock show, but this is somewhere. I want to say the Trocadero. It was somewhere along those lines, and it was like a big show. Like Red Ants played, like some other bands played, and it was like this big lead up, and then
it would kind of fuck up for the Dwarves, like because we never had decent gear or a crew.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the gear would just.
I mean, he was like, bah, bah, he's like pounding the amp head, and I was like, and for me it was kind of a mind blower because I'm just starting to play myself, and I'm seeing like things that like happen in the practice room at this big old show, but then he just lock in and it was the best, and it was like, oh my god, that's great.
Yeah.
But...
I mean, there's this strange kind of schizophrenia to the Dwarves. On the one hand, it's like, and it's changed too over the years. I mean, in the early years, it was just trashier from the root, but. Really, there's a lot of good musicians and songwriters that have come in and out of the Dwarves.
Yeah.
But the mission of the group was always just to, live, just have an explosion and just have it go and have people like, that's what they remember, the energy, the wildness of it. And so sometimes that would fall apart. But often, it would be a whole show and it would be good and we'd be on. But sometimes it was just like, nah, it sounds like shit, where it's fucked up. The gear's all fucked up, or we just quit, or we just had a fight, or whatever the deal.
Yeah. I think there was an onstage fight too. And here's the thing: I've been telling this story for I want to say 30 years. I'm pretty sure, and that's how much. And how many shows have I seen? How many shows have I played? And like it's as if it just happened. It was
and
in a good way.
And so it's important for people then to ignore the other side of it, because people's brains can only kind of handle one thing at a time. So your vision of the Dwarves tends to be, oh, those guys are crazy, they do crazy shit. Here's they put tits on there, they say fuck on there. So all of it is supposed to add up to, these people have no talent, they can't write songs, there's nothing here. And so then I spent a lot of years kind of trying to make more and more interesting records with better and better playing and better songwriting, and just to kind of exercise those other muscles, because again, you don't need to make Blood Guts Part 20
exactly
once and it doesn't really work again. And we'd sort of done that in various forms. Our most popular record was Young and Good Looking, because that's the most kind of California pop punk one, and it has like Everybody's Girl, One Time Only, and those more pop punk kind of songs. And but even at that, it was like, once you do that, how many times do you need to redo it? I mean, I think the Dwarves of the last 20, 25 years have really, every record sort of hits every genre. It's like, here's some hardcore, here's some garage, here's some surfy stuff, here's some pop punk, here's some noise. And then you just kind of rearrange it, and I think that's really what makes us different than most bands who sort of have a style. And then they put their best song first and their second best song second and the third best song third, we make albums that have depth to them and that change, but are the world we work in is garage rock and roll, punk rock, whatever you want to call it, folk music, so to me, like, that encompasses everything that's like forms of folk music, like hip hop and acoustic guitar music and whatever. Like it's all that, to me, is all like American folk music, like the music that's made by the regular people.
That's right.
And there's kind of patterns for making it. You're not really taught how to do it by anybody. You just kind of pick it up. That's sort of what we are. And the other side of it has these like, big names. I mean, Eric Valentine produced a bunch of my records.
Sure, yeah, he's great.
Drums on a bunch of my records. These are like big time guys with millions of records sold. So what was it that they saw? Nick Oliveri, all these guys, like, what is it that they saw in it? And I think what they saw was like a purity of purpose and a purity of execution that was like not really touched by the music industry or the conventions or the things that you're supposed to do. It was sort of like, and for people who know, that meant a lot. You know what I mean? There were a lot of people have said to me over the years, and it's kind of a weird left-handed compliment, but I know what they mean. People say, well, you really don't give a fuck, man. Meaning like you don't care about the consequences. You're just going to go for it. You'll name the record fuck and blood and death and pussy, and you'll put tits on it, and you're not worried about the conventions of the industry. And it's like, well, no, actually I do give a fuck.
Yeah.
I don't censor myself in the way most people censor themselves. And so the product they come out with is a result of them trying to appeal to their management or their spouse or their mommy or whoever, their label or whoever they're trying to be a nice little musician for, and for the Dwarves, it was just like, we don't confuse like being in a rock band with real life,
Those are different things, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Maybe in real life you gotta like, compromise and you gotta show kindness and you have to be this and that. But in a rock band, you don't have to do any of those things. You just open it up and go and just full throttle,
Right. You'd have a fight with a cop or something on stage and
Yeah, I've done that. Yeah.
Well, but it's interesting too. So a couple things. So first of all, so the Dwarves stuff, it would be very easy just to be like, oh, we're these, we do this one thing and we're just scum punk and we do this and F you and like, okay, but it's not that. There's a lot more nuance to it. And a lot more for people willing to dig into that. And I said, I guess a couple years ago with Doug Walker at Reggie's in Chicago. It was great. I was like, wow, this is like, it's a really good set that's longer than 12 minutes.
Yeah.
That's like representative of like all these different eras of the band while staying true to like what these knuckleheads in the
and we
want
want
to.
I mean, and you're out there, you want to get paid. You want to go out there and have a catastrophe every night.
Yeah.
And then you're broke and it's a disaster. I mean, a lot of the catastrophe stuff was when we were like young and working day jobs, and it really was just a catastrophe.
Yeah.
And now it's like, well, shit, I can make a living playing music, and I've done enough of these sets. I'm pretty confident, but it's still, you never know, it's still the Dwarves. So every once in a while, it all goes insane.
Yeah, it wasn't like, Barry Manilow or something. Like, it was still a pretty intense show. I'm just saying that, like, it was like, oh, no, this is I see what they're doing here. Yeah. This is really cool. And, like, that for me, that was, like, more entertaining because it's like, well, I did see the, the crazy, like, what the hell happened, like, spectacle show already.
And now you hear some songs.
I can hear the songs, which I like. And that's, that's something that I feel like, the fans are they're gonna engage with whatever they engage with, right? And it's like you were saying, it's if that's the only record that they like, well, at least they like one of them. Good for them, money spends.
Yeah. Exactly.
But then there's always going to be people that are like, going to check out, when something new comes along, like, oh, cool, yeah, let's check this out. And sometimes you can kind of goose that a little bit, like when we did "Come Clean." I thought that was great because it's like a reference to like the other record, which was like, oh, that's hilarious if you know that other record cover, especially because it's like, oh, it's the other side of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's or like with Young and Good Looking, she's got a skateboard and she's so that was like a comment on the pop punk scene and like which everything kind of becoming a vision of skateboarding and sports drinks and whatever.
Warped Tour and all
like
that.
Okay, this is how the Dwarves interfaces with that. Like you like this record, but you don't like it as much as your fucking Social D record or whatever you like. You know what I mean? And you don't like it because we're a little more insane, and so it was like, here's your skateboard, you little fuck,
right. Like it's like cynical but funny.
Because you need that because you're a fucking, you need all your crutches. You got your thumb in your mouth and you need your poppy punk that's not too crazy, and you need your skateboard so you feel like a little athlete, whatever the fuck you're doing. You know what I mean? I mean, it was like the whole thing was, meant to kind of comment on what was going on at the time, So, I mean, with Jenkem, this newest one, it was like, okay, how can we go the complete opposite of that? Like, how can we, there's all these records with nudity and all these records with these concepts.
Right.
So then we made this new one that just looks like a bootleg from the 70s.
Yeah, you can't even show it.
On the front end. It's just like, what the fuck is this? I thought it was a great juxtaposition for what the other records were like. And it was also kind of a comment to the people that only like the old shit. Right. Like, I bet you'd like this. Yeah, it looks old, and I bet if you listen to this, you'd actually like this. So yeah, it was,
Well, and there's all those, there's all the great sort of homages, piss takes, what have you, Bad Brains, like Black Flag, Minor Threat.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I thought that was kind of.
John Gentili made these mock covers, which fit perfectly over our kind of generic cover.
Yeah.
It's like mock versions of the Bad Brains and these different groups,
Yeah, that cracked me up and it was like, oh, that's perfect for that, because then it's like, the whole thing is it's especially notable if you are familiar with not only the other records but what the other records look like. It's even funnier. It's like, oh, that's hilarious. It's like, we can't even show you this one. It's so crazy,
Right.
Like, what could that be? I've seen the other ones. Yeah, and it's something where you have to make it interesting for yourself, but you also, like, to a certain degree, at this point, dwarves are in the business of show as well. And do you counterbalancing that? Has that been something that was a journey to get to? Because I feel like around Young and Good Looking is sort of like when it stopped being like, okay, it's anarchy. And and that's just going to be what it is. But that also was around that same time. Yeah, you mentioned that, like what, 97 or something. That was a real monochrome era for any like aggressive music. Like everything, what has to be this or it's nothing. And
already on those kind of records, like, there was that song Nothing But Hits that was like looped, which is very rare in punk rock even to this day. But then in the 90s, nobody was looping things, and we were always using sound effects and footage from films and stuff that like hip hop groups would do. I mean, I guess it was, it was a journey getting there. I mean, it was just kind of inevitable. And, probably looking back on it, the best move would have been to have changed the name before Young and Good Looking, so that the Dwarves were always that nasty.
So Sugar Fix was the last. Yeah. The last, and, okay, yeah.
And Young and Good Looking was sort of the beginning of a new group that did different things. But I did, then it came down to very prosaic kind of shit. Like, well, if we play as the Dwarves, they'll give me $1,000, but if I don't play as the Dwarves, they'll only give me 100. So what do I do? Like, well, we'll be the Dwarves.
Yeah, then we're gonna be the Dwarves. All right. Well, and also, who could have predicted? I mean, like, 97, it was no great shakes too. But like finding a good band name, it seemed like the sky was the limit, like years back. But it's impossible now. So just finding a decent.
Well,
band
now they like to do like sentences, like and the sky cries out and shit like that. Whatever it is.
I chose Conan, Neutron, and the Secret Friends, and I never would have, if I thought I was going to play even a single live show, let alone tour for a lifetime on it, I would not have picked a sentence-long band name. I can tell you that much right now. It doesn't work that well. But that's kind of what you have to do to a certain degree to like just have something unique, because like everything's been taken like 1,000 times over.
Everything's been taken, yeah.
So I love that while we're talking about Young and Good Looking, the classic, other than the cover, of course, is that you had the sort of modified version of the Sub Pop letter, the drop letter on that. What was the very funny, very much in character, I felt like, as sort of like not the merry pranksters necessarily, but if there were merry pranksters of that style of music, I would say.
And it gave you a sort of conceptual continuity with the earlier group. Like,
absolutely. It was a linking it was a linking narrative. But it's that's something that I think the music is serious, but there's a reverence to everything the band has done that I think comes through for anyone willing to pay attention to it, if that makes sense.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, I spent my whole life doing it, and my friends spent a lot of time doing it. And, there is a vision there if you have eyes to see it and ears to hear it,
Yeah. And I think that it's interesting how much the world of music has changed and what does and doesn't, what kind of stays in people's radar and what doesn't. Like, I feel like there's a lot of bands that were great in like the 2000s that are just like gone. Like nobody knows about them now. Nobody talks about them. And it's like, well, I was there. That happened. That band was really popular, or, like whatever, or really good, and maybe even both. But I feel like anything that got in like a little bit before somehow got grandfathered in. Like, it's weird to think that like people especially younger cats, are like kind of fetishizing 90s stuff. Like unironically calling themselves grunge bands. And I'm like, dude, that was not something you wanted to be called. Like that was.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the 90s revival is particularly potent because there was this real seismic shift after 9/11 and the world became a lot different. And so people were nostalgic, and people are always kind of nostalgic for sort of exactly 20 years back. So in the 80s, I was doing 60s garage.
Sure. Yeah.
And you know, and so I've seen for the last 10, 15, 20 years, people fetishizing the 90s because I think it represents like, oh, you could still get away with shit. You know, like before everything was digital, before everything came back to haunt you, before, you know what I mean? Like you could get away with shit, you know, that you just can't get away with in the world of social media. You know, everything comes back to bite people. You know, I think had the Dwarves attempted what we did during the social media era, we would have been chewed up and spit out very quickly. But, you know, I don't like to be nostalgic because honestly, the music business did chew us up and spit us out with very little regard anyway. It didn't matter that, you know, like the term cancellation didn't exist yet, but we were always canceled.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like it was
canceled from the beginning. And so it was very like, you know, for every time that some cool person would give us a stamp of approval, the powers that be were always holding us down. I mean, we never got any promotion from any labels. We never got any radio play, you know, except the most obscure college station or whatever it was, you know, and we just never broke through at retail. They couldn't even display a lot of our stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's like the kind of thing. It was truly underground from the underground, you know?
And word of mouth. People would be like, hey, I think you're going to dig this. And be like, what is it? Well, just listen to it and you tell me. And that's something where you're going to get fans that are passionate that way, but you're not going to, and it'll mean more to them, but it isn't going to get you, you know, billions of dollars. It isn't going to get you, riches and mansions.
Well, yeah, and most people's popularity is, you know, a mile wide and a half an inch deep, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're a Dwarves fan, you really have latched on to something interesting and you are into it. There's just not a lot of them, you know, and it's like, okay, you know, that's how that went, you know. I mean, I've always said, you know, and one of the golden rules of the music business is, you know, there's gold in the middle of the road. The more soft around the edges, predictable bullshit you do, the easier it's going to be for people to consume it, market it, and whatever, you know.
It's so true. And unfortunately that people like to think that it's better now. It's like, no, it's just the gatekeepers have changed. That's the only thing that's different. And like, you know, you have a chance, you have an opportunity to connect with people without having like these intervening flaming hoops you have to leap through. But then there's just this matter of, you know, luck. You know, does it happen or not? You know, and it's very frustrating to me because I feel like there's as much as people. There's never been a time that people independently, each person has had more power to kind of become a megaphone to talk about what they love and spread that word.
That's what dilutes it.
And then everybody's doing it. Yeah, exactly. So it's always enheartening to me to see things like kind of weirdly break big. They're like cool and kind of like that Quebecian band that everybody's like sending around. And it was like, oh, I've played with a million bands that sound like that. But I mean, they're good and they could not be more French Canadian, those outfits and everything. But they're running around like, you know, selling out huge theaters. And I say, you know, good for them. That's awesome. But it's like, why did that hit when, why that? I don't know. You know,
I'm the wrong person to ask. My marketing skills are very low. That's why I'm talking to you.
I was going to say, you're talking. Yikes. I will say, I do make a special point with this show that, you know, there's some shows they only go for the big fish and, like, you know, good for them. Like, they can run their show however they like. But I'm like, I don't have anyone on I'm not interested in. And for me, that's the secret sauce that makes it work.
Yeah, I mean, that makes for a much more interesting interview. You know, sometimes you
think so.
talk to people and there's a lot of sort of media organs now which are completely generic and they just reprint, you
Press
know,
release,
releases
oh, let's
and
get a quote, and then we'll just have that be the clip that's on
yeah,
Instagram or what have you. And it's like, oh, Jesus.
yeah, and very uninteresting.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
monochromatic.
yeah, and you know, I think we're in an era now where young people really need to do something new that
Yeah,
isn't punk rock, that isn't hip hop, that isn't EDM, you know, something that speaks to their generation and they're going to have to figure out how to get it out there, you know. It's
yeah.
uh, I don't think people oh, sorry. Huh. I don't think people from my generation are going to do it or get it, you know. I
Or
think
even know what's happening, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
and
it's gotta come from a new place. They've been too successfully marginalized for a long time, and they basically need to kill my generation off and come forward.
right, and that's everyone's just holding on to power as hard as they can. I
Yeah,
mean, look at it in
absolutely.
politics, right? It's like a geriocracy. It's like, jeez. And I think it'll probably be something that's as advanced as the algorithms have become, but as now people start to notice, like the just mental warfare that's happening with them on people's self-worth and what have you. I think it's gonna be offline. I really do. I think people are just gonna be like, you know what? I don't want anything to do with any of this unless I have to. And I think that's, hey, you know what? Good is what I say. That's good because you can't they can't advertise for you in the physical space. I'm sure they'll try like a neural implant or something that'll blast the ads at you or some stuff like that. But dick pills and GLP-1s. Great.
Right? You can be fat and impotent and
Yeah.
still, have a sex life and look good.
Right, exactly. What's not to like?
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about? Because I know you've done a few books, and I know you take writing seriously. That's something that you've done for a long time. Was that something that you studied for? Was that something that you just kind of did for fun? Like what? How
I
did you start
mean,
with writing?
I studied it because I read a lot. But I don't really
Yeah.
have formal education much. I did. I went to college briefly. I didn't finish,
Yeah,
or
same.
come anywhere near finishing. Honestly,
Yeah.
I was
Same.
just out of work and didn't know what else to do, and so I went. I always had some aptitude for writing, and at this point, I had three novels out. The first one is very kind of experimental, and I did it with the old punk rock illustrator Mad Mark Rude, the late great Mad Mark Rude. So we wrote a book called Armed to the Teeth with Lipstick, and that was like a lot of his illustrations and mine, just sort of surreal, kind of William Burroughs Fantasia stuff.
Yeah.
So then after that book came out, I kind of said, I cultivated a more minimalistic style that I thought was funnier and easier to read as opposed to my kind of maximum verbal diarrhea style of the first book.
Right.
I just kind of reined it in and I wrote two books, one called Nina and one called The Highland Falls, that were both kind of about Midwestern suburbia analogous to the one that I grew up in and
Right.
some of the things that happened there. I think I probably, if I wanted to have a book that did something, is write about some of my adventures with the dwarves, but haven't really found a way into that book yet. I've tried it in various ways and it just didn't move me as much as like writing novels, which I found more interesting, but I think it's, I when it comes to making art, I sort of like artifice. I don't really like it to be like, this is me. This is what I did.
Right. Well, because even when it is, it's usually like, look at Dylan, right? Like he's a perfect example of that. I was like, oh, that's the real Dylan. Yeah, is it really? Are you sure about that? Because even when he's being that guy, it's still an artifice. I mean, and that's part of his defense mechanism for like dealing with the world when you have
and,
like
well,
that people
and
engaging.
part of what the music industry does is, sometimes, here's how I look at it, right? Usually the music industry just gets it wrong.
Yeah.
Every once in a while they get it right, but they never get the proportion right.
It's like an overcorrection.
I thought Nirvana was great.
Oh, fantastic, of course.
But I didn't think they were the only band of the 1990s. That was something that, the record business and the media decided, I thought Green Day was good. I still think they're good. I didn't think they were the only punk band of the
That's
2000s. Right. So, you it's like the proportions are always off. And, either good shit is getting ignored, which is largely what the Dwarves story is, or stuff that's pretty good is being vaulted to the status of like the most brilliant shit ever.
Yes.
And so that's where you really get these crazy issues, because really, like, the way I looked at it, and I first came in contact with this one, like it was real stuff. Like you'd see a friend of yours who was working at a car wash, and now and they were buying a house, and it was like, fuck, man, I kind of want a house too, and I'm sick of working at the car wash. So what about me? And the problem with that is that it's the way it should have been cut up was they played Nirvana 1 million times and they played the Dwarves 5,000 times.
Yeah.
And they played Bad Religion 100,000 times and they played the Beatles 2 million times, right?
Yeah.
But instead, the way it went was, they didn't play any of the Dwarves at all, and then they played Nirvana 9 million times.
Right.
And it was like, well, dude, there were other people there influencing that and creating that milieu. And
it didn't come from a vacuum.
Some of that, just some of it, it would be somewhat of an accurate take on what's out there. But instead, it's like, you might hear the Beatles 9 million times, but you'll hear the Chocolate Watch Band 0 times.
Yeah.
And it's like
some specialty show somewhere.
Like I understand a world in which the Beatles are number one and great because I love the Beatles.
They're great, yeah.
But it's like, is the Chocolate Watch Band really nothing? I don't agree with that. Like I think if you like the Beatles, then the Chocolate Watch Band are somewhere, and you should be able to hear it once in a while and not like make you cry. And so in the same way that like maybe you love Green Day or you love Nirvana, you should be able to hear the Dwarves here and there and understand the role, even if it's a small role, that a band like that plays in making that larger band that you like. But that's not how the industry works or how algorithms work or how marketing works. So instead, the way it works, like, hey, there was one record this year. Was this Nirvana?
Yeah, that's the only one that came out.
When we told you there was one record, it was the Guns N' Roses record. But this is a totally different hairdo. It's like this hairdo looks totally different than last year's hairdo. Like it's still long and blonde, but it's different. There's no bangs this time. It was like, so like to me, as I looked at these things and I started to see people I knew in the major label context, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. We really are all doing pretty similar shit. It's just some of us are getting marketed and almost nobody else is,
Right. Well, and I think you're so right. And I think that that's also something that, be it like the majors in the 90s or these walled garden streaming platforms now, they're not interested in ecosystems. They're not interested in, the interconnected nature of creativity and all these kinds of things. What they're interested in is, oh, we can make money if we move this. This is our gold ingot that we found, and it's, one would think that once in a while, I mean, like, look, even a blind chicken finds a kernel of corn now and again, like and that has happened in the past, but it's pretty depressing that it's.
Well, that's what I meant about sometimes they get it right.
Yeah.
It's just then the proportion is absurd.
Way off, right? And it's like almost an overcorrection or something, where it's
Right.
like, oh, we're going to put everything into this because this is all the rebel
when
music
the
for
White
this year.
Stripes came out again, like
Yeah.
I heard the White Stripes very early because my friend Long Gone John put out the record.
Sympathy. Yeah. Same thing. I saw them at Bottom of the Hill, and like I was like, yeah, they're great.
Yeah, and so I hear these records and I think, oh, this is good. I like this. Then it gets signed to a major label, and all of a sudden it's like, this guy Jack White invented this thing called the blues.
Yeah, when he invented rock and roll, yeah.
And it was just like, whoa, man. Like, are you really unaware that for the last like 40, 50 years, there's been a retro scene that has done some variation on what this guy's doing? And of course, when you're young, your ego is so inflated that he honestly believes that. Like, yeah, of course it happened for me because I'm so fucking good. And that's just naturally what people believe, right? Because it's what they want to believe. One of the truest things I ever heard from somebody like that was, and when I still thought I could get a record deal and shit, and I was talking with Dexter Holland, and I said, man, how do you explain it that you guys cracked through like that and got so huge? And most people would say, well, we worked really hard and, we got kind of lucky and that was how it went. But he was like, Green Day, they started playing Green Day on the radio. They didn't have any other punk records. So,
need something else that sounds like this.
My kind of shit. And this is what happened, and it was like, whoa, like there really can be these very pedestrian explanations, why somebody gets big, you know what I mean? It's like it wasn't an accident that the Stones' first record to chart was a Beatles song that they covered,
right? Yeah.
Like it's like you have to be in the running to chart. You have to be around, and
well, and it can be some, and there can be just absolutely like near random levels events that work, but being a great band, like that'll get you to the door, but that doesn't get you in the door. There's a lot of great bands out there, and most of them, most people have never heard of, and also,
people in the music business are very easily intimidated, and there's a couple things that intimidate them. So one side is that whole violence, sex, like, hey man, good luck with that bullshit. We're staying away from that. We got something cleaner.
Yeah.
We don't need your bullshit. We don't want to lose money and we don't want to get a lawsuit, blah, blah. So that's one set of things they're afraid of. But the other set of things they're afraid of is like people with an opinion, people who know things, people who like know what a royalty is and how it's structured. Like the music industry really doesn't like that. And they signal very quickly that they don't want to hear it and they're not interested in your bullshit. They like Kurt Cobain because, he's on dope and then he's dead.
Yeah.
So if you're on dope, you're easily manipulated and controlled. And when you're dead, you're easily profited off.
Yeah.
Right. So, without getting a share yourself because you're dead. So, I mean, it's very like there were various parts of the Doors that people, from the industry wanted to stay very far away from. One was just me talking about things. I have a way of talking where it sounds like, wow, that guy, he really, he thinks he's got all the answers. It's like, no, this is just what my voice is like.
Yeah.
And this is what I think.
Your lived experience, you're being in the world. Yeah.
I would talk to people from record labels and it was like, hey, good luck with that bullshit, buddy. We'll be over here with this junkie cat. He's signed on the dotted line. He's gonna do 8 records with us, man. It's like you ain't gonna make 8 records though, right?
Right.
So when you make me sign an 8 record deal, what are you really doing? You're lying and cheating right from the beginning. It's like you can't, if you understand that or that, you're like, hey, they're like, hey, buddy, like, good luck, right? So you have to kind of position, like one of the ways people sort of position themselves is by being passive. And one of the main ways of that is being like, hey, man, I just play music, man. I don't really understand.
I'm not into that side of things. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know about that side. I don't know what math is, man. I never, you know what I mean? And it's,
Right.
you know, and they do that, and people do that with production too.
Oh,
you know,
sure.
which is why you always wonder, like, how come that band has one great record and everything else
Everything
sucks?
sounds like crap.
Because they didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And then they got stuck with a producer who was great, and then they got a great record, and then they were like, I don't like that. I don't know what to do. I'm doing this and that, you know. It's like, you know, it's how you get Nevermind, which is a great record that's very poorly mixed, and then you get the follow-up, which is a shitty record that's mixed really great, you know.
Oh, well,
I mean, it's like,
I love that record, but I see why other people might feel that way. But I will say that when they did those remixes for that box set or whatever that came out for Nevermind, I was like, oh wow, yeah, this is like leagues better. Like, how did they like not just go with these? Go with these.
Nevermind is just kind of that classic example of like the drums are fighting the guitars, are fighting the vocals.
Yeah.
But it's like, who am I to second guess that record? It's a great record. Yeah. And what makes it great is just the essence of it, the people playing the music, the excitement they had at that moment, the quality of the songs, which I think none of that was there for the next recording, but it was recorded a lot better, and the mix is good. You know what I mean? So it's like you have to have some.
Again, I would have to try to disagree more, but I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate it.
It's like you have to have some kind of concept of what you're doing, and when you do, people don't really want to hear that. Like they want you to sit there and be physically attractive,
ideally,
and you know, and then have like good chops, like you're a good singer or you're a good saxophone player or whatever you're supposed to be, and that's it. If you understand anything about anything else, then you're a threat, both to the audience and to the industry. You know what I mean? It's like the way things are structured. You know, just the deals don't make any sense. They've never made any sense. They're always a mockery.
It's always predatory. It's meant to be. You know,
yeah.
That's the you know, in the programming world, it's like you say that's oh, is that a bug? No, that's a feature. They consider that a feature. That's what
exactly
it's designed to do. And I think
exploitation is a feature of the music business. And so when you're me,
that's right.
You're coming to people with almost a complete hand of deuces. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so you're telling me you say fuck in the song title, so we can't even write it on the back of the record. You got a pair of tits on the front, so we can't even display this. You're saying profanity in it, so we can't play it on the radio. And you're telling me that you're offering me a bullshit deal?
Yeah.
Come on, buddy. Like, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? So like that's why I have nothing for the music industry. They have nothing for me. And paradoxically, that's why this band is still around and people still listen to it. And I still make money off it because it's like, yeah, man, I own all this shit. Nobody else wanted it, you know? So it's like, oh, great. I mean, I make money off it every day, you know? It's like, great.
Well, and you're trading, that sort of like short-term gains for a career, for where you get to do the things that you want to do, the way you want to do them, and to an audience that appreciates it.
Yeah, I didn't want anyone telling us, hey, this record needs to be done by this date, or you can only put this much money into it. It's like, no, I'll put as much money into it as I want, and it'll take as long as it takes.
Right.
You know, so it's you know, when you write your own rules, though, then you have to live with the consequences of that. You have to live with being ignored a lot. You have to live with being, you know, just people playing dirty pool, man, getting us thrown off festivals, thrown out of shows, thrown off through a radio station, thrown off a list. You know, your name appears on somebody goes, absolutely not. You know, that kind of shit. And, you know, that gets old real fast. I mean, it's one thing when you're a kid and you're laughing it off, but when you're trying to make a living, it's like, oh, shit, really? You're leaving me off this, too, and leaving me off this? You know, it's like, okay, you know. So, you know, you pay the penalty for that, but I couldn't have done it any other way. I wasn't going to have somebody tell me that I couldn't say Blood, Guts, and Pussy, or I couldn't make a 15-minute record, or I couldn't do whatever the fuck I was doing, you know.
Well, those are the things you wanted to do, and if you weren't, you wouldn't be staying true to yourself. And for some people, that appears to be fine.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, I guess you didn't have anything there to begin with. But then a lot of times you'll see people, oh, I really regretted doing X, Y, and Z. Well, why did you do them?
Yeah.
Nobody forced you to do it. You know, it's like you saw the brass ring and you took it. Just cop to it, man. Everyone would respect you a lot more.
Well, yeah, and that's part of the issue with like a Nirvana. You know, there was this element of you signed up with the management people who signed you up with the big record deal. And then it was like, fuck corporate magazines, fuck corporate record deals, fuck this and that. It's this is exactly what you wanted, exactly what you asked for, exactly what you angled to get, and then you got it. And now you're going to tell me how unfucking fair it is, and then you're going to just die on dope.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, you know, see, it's hard, you know, because I want to be compassionate toward people, but there's too many people delivering pizzas or fucking being your barista who are talented.
Yeah.
If you get all the largesse thrown at you that a lot of these people get, and then you fuck it off, it's just like, I'm not sitting around feeling sorry for the replacements or whatever, you know, like Notorious Cab was like, you know, the label was just kissing our ass and throwing money at us and trying to get us to do things. And we just said, fuck you, we won't do anything. It's like, shit. If they would have given me anything, I would have taken it all the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, that you know what? That's a good point, because it's like, you know, would I have Westerberg on the show? Yeah, probably, but it would be like, dude, come on, we gotta address the whole self-sabotage aspect of like what you do, and like I mean, it's just such artifice too of like, and it's in a way that, you know, whatever, it's part of that band's charm.
I'm just jealous if you tell me that you got all. I mean, because the implication is, well, our music was so great that everybody was kissing our ass, but we were just kind of self-destructive people, so we couldn't do shit. It's like, you know, man.
Sure.
We wrote the book on self-destructive. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
So it was like, you know, it's like the real story was people didn't recognize what was great about us, people from the industry, whereas a lot of bands, whether it was, you know, like from my era, like the Replacements or the Goo Goo Dolls or whatever, where it was like, come on, man, you know, you were like coloring in the lines enough that these people were gonna like your shit.
Yeah, like, oh, you were shocked by it? Like, really? Were you?
Fuck the management, fuck everybody. It's like, nah, you did everything to court that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then it was like, fuck these people. It's like, all right, you know, that's fine. The step further that we did was we actually made a product that they were scared of, and made an entity that they were scared of. So nobody was kissing our ass from that. It was just the opposite. You know what I mean?
Well, and then but that also strikes a contrast too. That because then by doing that kind of thing, there's an appeal to that to a certain kind of person. That's like, oh wow, like these guys are, you know, they're articulating my thoughts, or F those guys specifically, or whatever. Yeah. And that opens up the mind and hopefully the ears and maybe even the pockets, who knows, at least a little bit, in order to have the entry point for kind of someone coming on board for your thing, you know. And there's something to be said for that, especially when it's real, as opposed to just like this manufactured, yeah, we're rebels, oh yeah, really,
right,
really rebellious, I could tell.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna call out any band specifically, but
yeah,
we all know them. And I think that all that is interesting too, because
I mean, I saw an interview with Bon Jovi. I mean, he thinks of himself as an underdog cat that, you know, God,
oh yeah, sure, yeah,
that
great.
Was homemade and did his shit, and then just
he had it so rough,
exploded. It was so great, and people loved it so much. It was just like,
yeah, must be terrible.
Yeah.
It's tough being you, I'm sure.
Yeah, everybody thinks they're like an underground hero. That's what's so funny. Like the abuse of that word "cool." You know, it's like people are like, you know, my minister's really cool. You know, or like my backpack's really cool. It's like, no, it's not. Like your backpack's very useful. You know, your minister's a very kind person. He's not cool. I'm cool.
Yeah.
Don't fucking tell me how cool this other shit is that's not cool. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like unless we have a different a different version of what the word cool is.
Yeah. It became very generic. Like it was made to describe bands like the Dwarves.
Yeah, sure.
Reality.
This is going to be a wild change up for whatever it is we're talking about here. I just had to give you a shout out for the column in the Wave, man.
Oh wow, yeah, that's an old one.
Because I used to work
How
in
to
the
write
South Bay.
good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if it's none of that's online. I think, right? If I
I don't
remember
think
correctly.
so. Yeah, that was funny. I've always liked writing humor,
Yeah.
but it's hard to write humor because, at least with music, it's going at your cortex a different way. It's making sounds. Even if somebody doesn't intellectually understand the music you're making, they can still enjoy it. With writing, it's like really hard. Like if you're satirizing things or trying to be funny, people have to have some baseline understanding of shit, which often they don't.
Well, and I thought it was interesting too because, and for people not familiar, and like this is a pretty niche thing to mention, but this is like there used to be these things called magazines, and then there used to be out, and like the Wave was like a free magazine, and you could like read about like they got a cover story about the Quentin Tarantino or whatever, right. And they have different columns and things along those lines, and you could find out back in days of yore, one of the what's playing at the Edge.
Right,
like it's like things like along those lines.
Wow, yeah. So is that San Mateo? The Edge?
Yep. I'm pulling them all out putting all the stops out. But yeah, I just remember it being like one of the ones that was like, oh, this is like a little bit better than like a lot of these other ones. Like I'll actually like read this one, and then I remember I was like, is that the same Blag? Is that the same guy? And then I would read it. I'm like, oh yeah, it's the same guy. Okay. Right on.
The editor of that magazine was very cool. A guy named John Newland. I really liked him. I haven't seen him in years. He was a really funny guy and a good editor. Interesting guy. Well, I think a lot of people who did that stuff, were disappointed by the way the media landscape changed because everything just became free. You couldn't they used to pay for writing for the Wave. And
I know, right?
And it was like, wow, all right, cool. I got a check. I wrote something funny. That was it. Now it's like, man, everything is like AI automated bullshit. And they're not hiring people to write reviews. Things.
There was that big news, dating when we're recording this episode, but there was that huge news today. Those dudes from Good Charlotte and their company bought out Brooklyn Vegan and Revolver and like all of these like all these other kind of like dinosaur publications. But it's like whatever I think of them. It's like no, about all these people that like wrote for these sites are like jobless now. And it's like, wow, and it's not like journalism is in some great position right now. But I think about the Wave, and it's like, they had your column. Yeah, Sean Baby was in that. Like, it was interesting. It was cool. And it came, for me.
Did ghostwriting on the first Good Charlotte record.
Oh, really?
Or maybe it was the second Good Charlotte record, whichever one Eric Valentine did.
That's hilarious.
And I mean, why am I not surprised that they would be part of a front organization for Live Nation buying up content?
I know, dude.
And it's like, oh, gee, what a surprise, that more. And again, this is where you see it. When you see it up close, it's like, fuck, dude, I don't hate you because you're successful. I just think it sucks that such lame shit is precisely what becomes successful. Like, I want to like it. I think the music business operated correctly when it was just guys with broken noses exploiting people. Like, I'm going to take my piece of this, whatever the fuck it is, and then so you get these great songs, and it's like, I'm taking my dime out of your dollar, okay, fine. But now the music business is like a bunch of people going, I really know what's good.
Yeah, we're disrupting things.
I'm Joey Germstein, and I know what A&R is, and I'm signing something, and it's really good. And it's like, fuck, dude, you don't know anything. And you don't fucking need to be here making a decision about what people get. And it's still the same deal. They're still taking their dime, or now they're taking 90 cents for every dollar. but whatever it is, it's like, okay, like the music business operated better when the powers that be didn't pretend to know anything about music.
Right.
And,
Right. Because
at the point now where they do, it's like, okay, so now I get your make-believe version of like what a punk band's supposed to be, and it's Good Charlotte. And then they get a couple $1 million, and then they got to hire people like my friend Eric, who's got to hire me because they don't have any songs, that kind of shit. And it's just like, all right, like this is a mockery, Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and they're strip mining everything too. That's the thing too. It's like like they consistently over and over again they're killing the golden goose. They're like, what makes this interesting is not like the name or whatever. It's like the passion behind it and people making a connection with the readers and the culture. And it's an ecosystem, right? Like shows like mine. The art ecosystem for that. And I started because I wanted to stay involved with it when I wasn't touring and when I wasn't putting out records and stuff. Like that's a way for me to like stay engaged with it. I'm sort of utilizing my own natural curiosity in that way. But the thing is like that everything has to be like content now. So it's just content. And content is not always, but oftentimes is the death of creativity. Because it's just like what you're doing is you're making a thing for a purpose. And there's something to be said for craftsmanship, don't get me wrong, but there's very little artistry to all of it, and even less so with AI, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, when we make a record, it's because we wanted to make a record. When we make a video, it's because we wanted to make a video, and there's nobody telling us to do it, or, there's no economic upside to it. I just keep the lights on by staying true to it and hoping that a few people recognize that and stick with it, and it's the same with books. It's the same with the production. Now I'm doing the Ralph Champagne thing. I got to figure out a way to do that live, but there's another Ralph Champagne record coming out this Christmas. And I love it. I'm very proud of it. It's got a lot of like female vocal. It's kind of loungy. It's just a real departure. And I've been making a record with a couple rappers that I love, that we're going to call Big Dick Hustlers, so that's really different and going in that direction.
Yeah.
And I'll go from doing like lounge music that's family safe to doing Big Dick Hustlers with Mickey Avalon and Z-Man, and we'll throw a bunch of nasty ass rhymes out there. And then people looking at us like, why is a 60-year-old white guy making a hip hop record? It's like, because it's a great record, because that's what I do, and like no one's asking for it. No one needs it. It's just creating things for the sake of it,
Right. Which is somehow not acceptable, for for whatever atomized version of a monoculture is left. Like, what? You would just, you would do something you enjoy for the sake of doing it? What?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because you had Highland Falls and was introducing Ralph Champagne, right? That was like the same year. So you had like two things. It was like if someone only knew Blood, Guts, and Pussy, they'd be like, "What's he doing? Is this the same guy?"
Yeah, I like to throw a spanner in the works and do interesting stuff. It's
how did
that was why I got into it. Like when you're young, that's why you do it, right? And then you get polluted. The industry pollutes you because you see your friends making money and you're like, well, fuck, I don't want to work at Arby's. I want some money too. And I want some people to recognize that I'm good, and then you start buying into it in a way. And in some ways that's good because you don't allow yourself, right. So some people are like, they just don't believe in the industry. So then they just don't try. It's like, we're not even going to bother making a good record. We know nobody gives a fuck or whatever. So like the illusion kind of helps you in a way. If you say to yourself, okay, man, I'm going to act like I had all the resources of some big rock star and I'm going to make the greatest record I can with the best people. Yeah. But then, you got to trick your mind back into going, now I got to be happy when 10,000 people buy it instead of 10 million. Because that's the way it's going to fucking be. So it's like, all right, 10,000, I'll take it.
It beats 10 or 0.
That's right. Absolutely. There's a lot of people that get 0, so
I'm
happy.
So going back to that first Ralph Champagne record, the idea behind it, was that just like, I'm going to try my hand at the Great American Songbook kind of thing? Let's just try
Yeah,
something
I mean,
different.
I've always been a big fan of retro music of various kinds.
Yeah.
With the Dwarves, it kind of goes back to about the 50s, kind of the beginning of the rock era. So there'll be little elements of rockabilly or 60s garage or surf in a hard record by the Dwarves. So that's sort of the Dwarves approach. So I just wanted to take that same approach, but with kind of all the Americana genres, just country and lounge and
rockabilly and freaking
duets and acoustic stuff and things that things that are more songwriter based. I had a lot of songs that had just never come out. I think that was really the impetus for Ralph Champagne, was that
do a little different, right?
I sat down with a friend of mine who's a great producer, a guy named Andy Carpenter, and I just played him like 30 to 35 songs on acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And I said, what are these songs? Like, are these in the right key? Are these in the right tempo? What are we doing here? And I kind of worked it to that point. And then when I looked at what I had, it was like, this is kind of a country album. Let's make this. And that's what kind of
an outlaw country, that
kind of a rockabilly outlaw country kind of record was what the Ralph Champagne record was, the first one, introducing Ralph Champagne.
Yeah.
And so to me, that turned out to be a great record. Josh Freese played drums on it.
Yeah, it's cool.
A guy named Tom Ayers played bass and guitar. There's a bunch of great performances, a bunch of cool shit on there. But that was all sort of somewhat within my wheelhouse. I knew how to do that. I knew what the chords to those songs were. So then when that was all done, I went back and looked at the other like 20 jams. And I was like, what is this? And what I wound up doing was just stripping away my acoustic guitar parts, and just giving the vocals to a couple guys that I like and saying, here's the vocal on a click track. I want you to reinvent what the chords are.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Just make something completely different, because I don't have the musical chops to do what these vocal melodies are. I don't know suspended chords and, all that kind of shit, jazz chords and stuff. And so I handed it off to friends. And when I got it back, it was like getting a whole new record back.
Right. Yeah. It's totally different. Yeah.
Like, this is what you did with these things. And so once that happened, then it was like, maybe this is more like a lounge record. And I wound up getting Petra Hayden to do a bunch of female vocals on it.
She's so good.
She's such a great singer and so talented. And again, these great juxtapositions, like, what's she doing on a record with me, and it just got better and better. And by the end of it, so now this record is like, the last one was a Blag Dahlia record called Introducing Ralph Champagne. This one, it's just called the Ralph Champagne Review.
Nice. Okay.
And so Ralph Champagne is kind of its own entity now.
Yeah.
And this record is going to kind of, it's got a couple Christmas songs on it. And so it's just like a whole different world, and so that's where that came from. And it's even more experimental than anything I do. Like dwarf shit, I can understand that musically. I mean, I'm a pretty rudimentary guy, but I understand those chords and what's happening there, and I can pretty much play it on guitar. Once it gets into this, like Ralph Champagne Review shit, like, I can't play it. I don't know how to chord it. I don't know what it is. I just wrote these vocal melodies with good lyrics, and I knew, like, this is a good song, but I don't know how to arrange this. And so, bringing in other people, Tom Ayers, Andy Carpenter, Michael Urbano on drums, a lot of Petra Hayden on vocals, a lot of kind of interesting people made it that much more interesting. Eric McFadden on guitar, these, like, it's cool, like, to be me and have great people play with you, because the Dwarves are really not known as being a musician's band, except among musicians.
Right, exactly.
You guys are really good, actually.
Yeah,
yeah, we are.
Well, in that same way that even like musicians that are like super skilled players, shredders, whatever, the Ramones are great. It's like, well, of course they are. Who can deny that the Ramones are great? It's like a buzzsaw, like the intensity is going to get over.
Yeah.
In that same way. But no, it's interesting because you're like being like almost the ringmaster here, right? Like you're putting this together, and it's like you got like this guy's got the lions standing on its back paws, getting the the thing over here.
I'm a producer in the older sense of the word, I think, of just kind of curating things and bringing people together and saying, okay, I got the budget for this. I know how to put this out. I know this guy, this female, this male, this singer, this player, and I'm just going to put all this together into something interesting. And what kind of ties it together is my songwriting. Or at least my lyrics. I also write a lot of stuff on other people's instrumentals, both in the Dwarves and in my solo shit, because it's like I'm not really a musician. It's not like some people sit down and a bunch of stuff comes out.
Yeah.
That's not really me. Like when I sit down on a guitar, I've been playing the same thing on guitar for 50 years. So it's like nothing new is going to happen there. But when I just sit down and come up with a song, then something new is happening. And so I put different things behind it,
Well, and I mean, but there's a rich tradition of that. I mean, Biafra, Jello Biafra, like you can't play anything really, but he can like whistle, like he has good music. It's just that like he needs other people to interpret it for him,
Yeah, he swore he wrote all the riffs on Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables, but I don't quite buy that.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll tell you what, man, I've over and over again invite him to come on this show, and he keeps like poo-pooing. And then I was gonna have Ray on. It was the week that the drummer died. And,
right.
And I was like, no, I get it. Don't worry about it. And we have never done it. But I was like, hey, man, I mean, you're one of my favorite guitar players. I would love to talk to you. Like, do I agree with every decision they've made with their band? Of course not. But it's not my band. They can do whatever the hell they want,
Yeah, I mean, Jello kind of lost the thread a bit. He got mad at the Dwarves for playing with Dead Kennedys, as though like I have to have his beef.
Exactly, like, proxy beef.
Yeah, like, I got plenty of beef of my own, dude.
Yeah, I don't have time. What am I, your hate secretary? Yeah. Exactly. Well, and that's, but I mean, also. But a lot of that Guantanamo School of Medicine stuff's good. It's like everyone's just concentrating on your own thing. Just make like whatever. Punks Suing Punks was a Free Kitten called that as an album cover or an EP, and I was like, that's amazing. I love that. So like I already like the band. If I didn't like the
records, band. Guys, they're all Sue happy.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's got all freaking. That's exactly what I got into punk rock for: lawsuits. No, but I think that it's worth mentioning. Oh, and you also did the Christmas one, the Christmas LP, the Grinch mini LP.
Yeah, that was like a Christmas EP, and
recently.
Then different versions of those Christmas songs will be on the full length. That's
word. Okay, cool. Yeah, and it's cool. Well, and I like it because it is so different. Like when I first I was like, what? Like, it didn't quite make sense to me, but I was like, well, I bet that's interesting. And then I listened to it. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, right on.
Music fans love it. And,
I love
Dwarves
that stuff.
fans, maybe not so much.
Yeah, certain type of Dwarves fan. Yeah. Well, this reminded me, like, do you know Swamp Dogg? The artist Swamp Dogg?
Yes, I do.
So I really didn't, other than to like, oh, it's funny that guy's name is Swamp Dogg. But I saw this documentary. It's called Swamp Dogg Gets His Pool Painted. And it's freaking incredible. And this dude has been just trucking along for decades, writing this badass, awesome music and just kind of doing whatever he wants. Now he's making a country record. Now he's using auto-tune on stuff. And he just just having a good old time and has written all these like huge hits and like played with all these great people. And I'm like, oh my God, everyone should know who Swamp Dogg is. And then I know. And now you know, and I got his. I picked up this. I think it's his first record called "Total Destruction to Your Mind," and it was like, I can't believe. How did I not know this? This is like for someone that's like into like Beefheart and stuff like that. This is like, right. I felt remiss in not knowing who this dude was, but I love it because if you have a curious mind and if you are someone that finds the adventure for that kind of thing, there's always new kind of cool rad stuff to find out about. And that just struck me as like someone being like, "What's this? Who's this crooner dude? Like, what's this all about?" Like, oh, he was in a punk rock band called the Dwarves. Someone could like wander in through like the back door somewhere that way. And if you really, and people engage with music differently. Some people are like, "I'm down for the scene." I like, the pit's gonna start up. I'm gonna be the one that starts it, and that's all I care about. I don't care about anything else. And you know what? Good on you, brother. I'll be over there, way away from you. But I think if you are someone that engages with music very deeply and finds value with like this, like having different types of songs being created and like creativity and just the adventure of it all, there's a big wide world out there that's more than just your little subgenre, man. And tell that to 17-year-old me. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Before I let you go, we should probably talk about your new goddamn record, huh? That might be a good idea. So, and also, by the way, you just played with the homies in the Pandoras at
I love them.
They were.
I hadn't seen Melanie for decades. It was so good seeing her. Yeah,
they're the best. They came out to our show with Red Cross and we got to hang out. We were on the little Stevens thing with them too, and
I'd love to do one of those little Steven things.
That's great.
All right.
Yeah. We were just on his crew, so it was, we technically didn't do it, but I got to watch the Buzzcocks from the hot tub with a drink. I'm doing all right.
Nice.
I'm doing all right. I'm not sitting here complaining about it.
Nice.
It was amazing. Could I ever afford it? Hell no, I can never afford it. You kidding me? but everyone there was like super sweet, like super cool. So and yeah, I want to mention too. You guys have a bunch of dates coming up. You're playing with the Exploited and like Total Chaos and stuff, and coming up. Again, check your local listings. Check the website for all that. When we originally talked about doing this, you had a whole lot more dates because you've been out for like a good portion of July, June.
We did
all
Europe.
That.
I mean, we were out for 5 weeks. So yeah, my brain is muddled. We're doing a tour with the Exploited on the West Coast mostly, and that's in September. And then we're doing that RPM festival out in Massachusetts.
We were just there, and the people that run that place, there's a new venue. It's called THCC, the Heavy Culture Cooperative, I believe, and it's the same folks that throw that thing. And that place is new, and it's awesome. It's just a great little venue in Western Mass. And yeah, RPM Fest is that looks awesome. A bunch of buddies are playing that. Yeah, so. What should people know about Jenkem? I mean, like I said, I thought it was more like it's a kind of a harder record,
it's
harder.
like a straightforward punk record, with one little pop jam thrown in there just to keep you guessing. But it was very straightforward. It's got, it kind of hits all of the Dwarves things. It opens with the whole kids questioning their sexuality song.
Right.
And then,
Confused.
We Are the Scene is very much the Dwarves are the greatest band ever song. You got to have one of those on every Dwarves record. And there's
exactly.
there's got to be
like
a saltpeter kind of throwback retro song.
Yeah.
So that Last Chance Lily, there's all these, you got your Nick Oliveri songs on there where he sings about how he despises people and wants to kill them. And yeah, it's just, it touches all the bases that a Dwarves record needs to, but it's in and out quick. If you were a Blood Guts fan, I bet you'd like this record.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not that much longer than that record. I don't think. I think it's like maybe 20 minutes, something like along those lines. Yeah. It's definitely, you don't have to like set aside a lot of time. You could have like a King Crimson guitar solo that happens while this Dwarves record goes, which is great. That's a good place to be. Blag, this has been great. Anything else before we start closing it down here?
Hey, look for Ralph Champagne this Christmas. Look for the
Champagne.
Big Dick Hustlers coming at you.
Why don't you come back for both those? Come back for both those. Come back and have a talk about both those.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. It's the last thing. This is the only canned question that I ever ask on the show.
Okay.
And it's you choose to interpret it however you like. Why do you do what you do?
For pussy.
It's like that was an hour and a half setup for that punchline, and I appreciate
what else
it.
is there? Yeah.
All right, brother. Take care.
Cheers, bud. Thank you.
There he goes, the one and only Blag Dahlia. What a cool guy. Let's hear something off of the new record. And you can find that thedwarves.bandcamp.com. You can also go to thedwarves.com. Get to your finer record stores, etc., etc. Let's actually listen to Confused. Yeah, that sounds like a good one.
Hey, I'm gay. Ain't that what the kids all say? Hey, I'm gay. I don't know what that means. I'm gay. Hi, I'm bi. I gotta give it all a try. I'm so confused. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Hey, I'm straight. My penis is a tool of hate. Hey, I'm late. Now that I'm dead, am I allowed to mate? I'll burn in hell. I am the damned incel. I'm confused. I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm confused.
There you go, Confused by the Dwarves. That's off that new record. Jenkem. Should have asked him about what that meant, but oh well, whatever. Too busy checking the Wave magazine, I guess. But anyway, that was Blag Dahlia of the Dwarves. I'd like to thank him very much for coming on. Go see them on tour if you're in any of those places they're still playing. Because I can't do this much earlier, but we're doing it now, and that's what's important. Hey, thank you so much for listening to it. This has been Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Deeply appreciate all you checking it out, giving it a listen. This show airs Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, streaming live on YouTube, on Twitch, podcasted later, everywhere, always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding, ProtonicReversal.com. But if you like the show, patreon.com/ProtonicReversal, $1 a month. That helps support it. Keeps the goddamn lights on in this joint. So deeply appreciated for folks that do that, get early access. Thanks for folks sharing the episodes around, liking, subscribing on your platform of choice.
Signing off.
Leaving a review. All that helps people discover the show, and it beats back the almighty algorithm. So deeply appreciated.
Anyone within the sound of my voice.
What else? Oh, I got a crazy one coming up. The guitarist for Parliament Funkadelic.
I've got
Michael Hampton's coming on for the next episode. So, yeah, Michael Hampton, Parliament, P-Funk. Crazy. And then Dave Ketching of Eels of Death Metal, Queens of the Stone Age, Rancho de Luna, Desert Sessions, what have you. So keeping them jam-packed in August before we go out on tour. So stay tuned, everybody.
this microphone.
Anything else?
Turns sound into electricity.
I don't think so. Just stay safe out there, and,
Can you hear me now?
I'll check you later.
Out on Route 128, you're dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 The radio. welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on Earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on.